up, baby?
What is up, YouTube? All right, we are about to jump into our last recorded just pure training vlog session for 2025, 2024, Jesus, which is crazy. It's been a big year. We'll do more of a recap episode towards the actual end of the year. We'll do that in more of a general vlog update episode rather than in training vlogs. So we'll go through that next week, something like that. This episode, we are going to be getting into some more training, nutrition stuff, some more prep advice, as well as navigating holidays and things like that. So every year you go on holidays, you think of how you're going to handle some things. Obviously, you can come back to this episode and look at the strategies and options that we suggest. We've got a leg day, a different leg day. I got some RDLs, leg extensions, hamstring curls, adduction, and some calf work. So we'll get through that. Scaff has instructed me while the food is low, we've reached a prep low now of 101.3. So bowel movements didn't move as well this morning, so I'm about 101.5. But some changes to things like what time I got up, what time I had my last meal, that sort of jazz plays a part. So not really concerned. Pretty much by the end of this week, I'm expecting us to be about the 100 kilo mark, if not lower. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this week, this episode, really, we're just going to get into a massive leg session. And Scaff has pretty much told us to pull back on RER at the moment. So all the heavier compound movements, leave some in reserve, let the body recover, save some fuel. Again, we're trying to drop body fat, not completely break down and waste tissue. So we will be erring on the side of caution to a degree with things like RDLs, and like stuff like leg extensions. We'll go a little bit closer to failure and just send it on that. So yeah, all in all, still a mixture of hard training, make sure we're still pushing it, but enough that the body can recover between sessions so that we can get the most out of it. So this is all about fatigue management, energy preservation for the long term of prep. Although it's fun to go hard when the fuel's high and you can. Obviously right now fuel is very low, and we need to consider what it's going to be like at the back end of prep to manage my look, my stress, and my fatigue. So yeah, that's where we are for that. And we'll get into it, get warmed up, and crank into some legs. Team. What is your alcohol tip to navigate functions or social events? Don't do it. No. I recognize that not everyone's me and not everyone's going to be abstinent and not really want to drink anymore. There's a couple of pieces of advice here. Firstly, in 2024, you're a grown-ass adult. There is no such thing as social pressure to drink. The social pressure from others to drink, yes, but as in you are a grown adult, the social pressure on yourself to drink is still something you can arbitrarily say no to. You do not have to be defined by others on what you should or shouldn't do on a specific day or time. So firstly, get that out of the way. You don't have to defend your choices or actions to people that you wish not to drink. Now I understand that some people do choose still to drink and they find that socially awkward and they find that like frustrating, confusing, or how to navigate that situation. So one of the main reasons that alcohol or drinking is so prevalent is that A, it's a decrease in inhibition. So like we are less restrained, we're less socially awkward, we don't feel as anxious about things. It's a depressant. But also, there is a cultural acceptance around having something between you and the other person that you're sharing in a situation or circumstance. So like, smokers will go smoke together, and that kind of breaks the ice in this conversation. Alcohol, drinking in an environment like a beer, a bar, a pub, a club, etc. It's a social, contextual situation. So one of the things I have my clients do is aim to have beverages in their hand at all time until they're comfortable enough with deciding when they do and don't drink. That beverage is completely selected by you, and it doesn't have to be alcohol. Early on, I'll get someone usually to do like a dark mixer, like a Coke or a Diet Coke, something like that. And what that does is remove the question or curiosity about what you're drinking, which is what people firstly get frustrated about. And then it becomes eventually move into like hydration, so water, soft drink or a mixer, and then alcohol. So defining how many drinks you have in a night. So you might say, I limit myself to 6 or 5. Usually I do 10 or 20. So you limit yourself to 3 to 6. Then inside that, you're also rotating between water and a soft drink, preferably a diet soft drink. Then all of a sudden you are still maintaining the amount of beverages that you consume, but you are reducing the total alcohol intake. And then eventually it just becomes, I no longer care, I'm gonna do what I want. And you realize you probably have more fun being less alcoholically intoxicated anyway. So that's how I kind of approach it, depending on the event, circumstance, situation, but there are a few easy tips to get your head around, especially coming into Christmas to make things a bit easier. What habits can help most to fall back on during holidays, travel, Christmas period? Now it depends on what you are trying to achieve. Now I'm obviously prepping over Christmas, so all of my habits fall back to help me during Christmas, and it's all stuff that become non-negotiables. For the average person, general activity, so like, getting your step count up. People really struggle to move during Christmas. Like you think like the average guy that, you work 50 weeks of the year, and you then have to, you get 2 weeks to do some housework, do some yard work, tidy up, prepare for the next year. Outside of that's a lot of sitting. It's a lot of sitting around, beers, drinking, watching sport, cricket, football, all the things that are on during this time of year. If you're an American sports fan, it's even worse. This is where all the playoffs and all the final series are, and things really start to stack up. So one of the biggest things is just make sure you get a step count up. Make sure that you are looking at getting 7 to 10,000 steps a day, especially on days where you aren't working. So that crux that you have that is like, oh, I do a physical demanding job. Cool, sitting for 2 weeks isn't physically demanding. So getting step count up, don't miss your meal routine. So if you are someone who's already on a bit of a plan, make sure you keep your protein intake up. Make sure you keep your whole foods in. Don't just turn to shit food because it's Christmas break, or the holiday break or whatever. And then keep your sleep system up. So if you're someone that during the year you wake up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., try to be close to that so when you return to work, it's not an absolute kick in the guts. Try to maintain that regularity, that routine, so that the habits don't break. You have to rebuild them coming into the next year. But they're easily 3 habits that you should fall back on and try and maintain during any holiday period, holiday trip, holiday season. They're just life habits that you should keep nonstop, and they'll be sufficient for forever. So that doesn't even depend on the holiday season, but yeah, they're, especially during this time of year, 3 things you can probably fall back on pretty easily. How do you tell your mum no to roast and dessert on Xmas Day? All right, so one of the things that gets me frustrated this time of year is the lifestyle coaches that get on their high and mighty about telling you what you shouldn't do in the attempts to tell you how free you are to do what you want. Like, oh, it's Christmas Day, just enjoy it, don't restrict it. Coaches are dicks for telling you to stick to a diet and then go ahead and tell you not to stick to a diet and not to follow a plan, and you're wrong if you do follow a plan. So the very irony is the dichotomy they create in which they tell you not to do something out of freedom, which then limits your abilities to do something. You're a grown adult. If you wish to diet or not diet on Christmas Day, that's your call. If you have a plan, if you have a goal, some random coach on Instagram is not to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. That's just fucking ludicrous. The same context, it all comes down to what you're choosing to make important around this time of year. If your goal or specific outcome is in a timely manner requiring this time of year to still be on plan, then you're going to have to develop some boundaries in order to achieve that goal. So what is it that's important on Christmas Day to you? Is it the food? Is it being present? Is it still being engaged in the social events? Is it having a meal with the family, but it's not so much what the food type is? Well, if that's the case, how do you pre-plan your own food? Can you speak to your parents or significant other, whoever's cooking, to make the same dish with no oils or no sauces or creams? Can you make just simply roast starch vegetables instead? There's nothing wrong with those foods inherently, but if you can't accurately track it, your only best guess is to guesstimate, and we all know that's very loose for most people. So, there's strategies around how to be present, even if you are. I've got a multitude of those that, even if you're not dieting during Christmas, you still want to be on point with your macros or your strategies, then there's still heaps of those to use. But if you have a goal, me prepping, I've already spoken to my mum, laid down the limitations. Hey, this is what's happening, this is where I am. I will still be there, I will still be engaged, I'll still be involved. I'll either bring my own food to cook, or maybe perhaps you could just unsauce or grill instead of oil or bake my meats. But either way, I'll be there to do my thing and still be present with everyone. The idea, again, it comes very similar to alcohol and drinking, like tip I gave before. You have to set the boundaries and be strong in them, and also recognize that no one else is able to tell you what you can and can't do on Christmas Day in a Western society. You are a free, democratic people with the right to choose how you live your life and what you do. So you need to come to terms with that and stop allowing the pressure and the position of other people to impact the decisions you make. Also, around holidays, unpopular opinion, fruit mince pies and Christmas pudding suck. They are terrible desserts. They do not taste good. Give me a sticky day pudding any other day of the week, any day of the week. I would choose that over a Christmas pudding. If you had to pick just one thing someone could change to see a result, what would it be? Oh, that's a good question. What would it be? Oh, there'd be so many factors that have to depend on what they're already doing. For general longevity, I would pump everyone up to at least 8 hours of sleep. To see a progress in body composition, standardized steps to 7,000 to 9,000 a day, no matter what. The average person, I would say, it's hard. There's so many different factors and variables of people to talk about. I think either one of those two things would be massive changes. And this is kind of the premise of philosophy we build off for coaching anyways. What's the lowest hanging fruit that moves the biggest rocks first? So what's the simplest thing that I can do that will have the biggest impact or the biggest return on my investment that will require the least amount of work from a client to do in order to achieve it? So working around someone's life to get 7,000 steps, huge, especially if they aren't getting it. Or working with someone on sleep hygiene to improve their sleep quality and quantity, getting up to a 4 out of 5 for quality, and going to that 7 to 9 hour window, teetering on the middle 8 hours, life changing. So they're probably two things I would choose. why documenting prep this time and not other years? I don't know why I said years so weird just then. So, strangely enough to probably other people's realization, I've attempted to vlog both preps. Yeah, obviously we did the once a month thing last season. We're in a better position, better lifestyle, better environment for business to be able to do more vlogging this year. But my first 2 attempts at prepping, pre-COVID and pre-COVID, I just basically got fucked around by videographers and people that promised the world. So the thing to me was like, I always wanted to document this stuff, for myself. Like, there's gonna be a point in time where I'll never be able to do this again. I had 20 years of rugby league experience and life that I will never be able to remember beyond my, memory, because there's just like minimal video, minimal recordings, minimal content or anything like that. As egotistical as that sounds, it was a big part of my life, what I did, but I'll just never be able to see it ever again. It all lingers up in the back of my head, of what I used to do or could do or did do. And on top of that, I'm a big believer as a coach that, I need to put out and portray to the world that I actively work on the things I talk about, the goals, visions, dreams that I have, and put them out there for people to see that it's possible. A lot of the time people succeed overnight and then all of a sudden it comes back to like, oh yeah, they just got lucky. But I want to show people, we want to show people, Matt wants to show people that there is a process to achieving goals, there is a system to achieving your goals. Dreams can become a reality and it takes a lot of fucking work, but you are capable of putting it in and making things happen. So there's a whole list of reasons why we're vlogging at a deeper level. And there's just certain things inside prep that you don't remember until you're refed and you're out of prep. So having the, visual library resource, I guess you could call it, it just makes all those emotions, feelings, thoughts, memories, something you can hang on to and actually reflect on for the next season, for life, for other people. I can give clients more evidence, more feedback, more philosophies, because it's literally here on YouTube, on Instagram, you can see it and implement it straight away. So they're kind of the main reasons why we're mainly vlogging this one. Do you recommend healthy holiday swaps? If so, which ones? No. I don't really recommend healthy swaps. A lot of the time, people get caught up in I believe it's called the halo effect of food. The assumption that because it's good for you or it has good nutrients in it, that it's like, it's okay to eat and that it's not going to stack on weight and increase calories that you consume, etc. Like it's all of a sudden void of its energy balance because it's some weird arbitrarily decided good thing like gluten-free, natural, organic, such and such. In regards to like Christmas swaps, in regards to any swaps really, very few things I'll make that, unless you're in like a prep, where it's, like I'll usually swap to like some sugar-free maple syrup and things like that, like Diet Right. But for the most part, like healthy swaps, if that is in relation to, like your organic treats and stuff like that, to make like a healthy brownie or a healthy cookie or a healthy baked good instead of having the real thing, I rarely recommend that to anyone, and just have the real thing. And if your calories don't allow it, accept that trying to make up 50% of your day's calories for a small organic brownie is just ridiculous. Now, if we're talking about things like health swaps in general, lifestyle improvements and interventions, then an easy one for me is moving to sugar-free energy drinks for tradies and moving to sugar-free sodas or like diet soda for anyone just in lifestyle looking to reduce total caloric intake and still feel satisfied and have something sweet. So they're two easy ones straight off the bat that I would suggest if that's the route we're talking about for healthy swaps. What actually is reverse dieting for someone who has never competed before? So, look, there's a lot of back and forth about reverse dieting. Many people argue just to get straight back to maintenance or weight gaining calories to try and increase body fat. Ideally, what we're trying to really look at doing in a reverse diet is incrementally increase your calories proportionally to the degree that you put on the necessary weight to get healthy and increase the healthy position of body fat that your body needs to return to functional hormonal balance, functional lifestyle balance, just general function and health. People don't really comprehend that in an aggressive prep, you are basically depriving your body of the fuel needs that it has to operate and function as a system, and that in turn puts us into a very deep pit of health problems, systematic problems and functional problems. The idea of reverse dieting is to control to a degree the gain of body fat, control the degree of accumulated body fat as we gain weight, increase our calories, and try and get back to normality. Now, some people will argue to get straight back to the fastest calories you can, get your weight back on, get body fat back on to increase functionality. Some people argue to control it and try and have a marginal increase over time. Generally, the gist is about to try and increase body weight by 10% of stage weight in the first 4 to 6 weeks, and then graduate from there as to where you go next. Usually for me, I'll look at a reverse diet as depending on the person. So yes, it's great to have tools and frameworks, but there's no one-stop shop approach. We need to look at, can the person handle the hunger that is going to come from in a reverse prep phase? People look at the objective data, they look at the tangible sets and reps, but fail to look at the psychological component of a client reversing out of a show. Are they able to handle the body image and the rapid onset of fat mass gain? Are they able to handle the increase of calories, feeling fuller, feeling sick, but also with that comes a ravenous hunger that can't be satisfied? Are they able to handle the unquenchable cravings that they will have for that period of time? How long will that take? That is all going to determine the reverse dieting and the reverse out process. And so we need to consider all these questions. But for the average person who's never competed before, the idea of reverse dieting is to try and accumulate body fat and weight in a controlled manner relative to their weight on stage or depletion, and ensure that we are controlling things to try and get the body back to a healthy position as fast as possible. Now, that'll be very arbitrary per person. I've had some clients return to near perfect bloods in 4 to 6 weeks. I've had clients that will take 3 to 4 months to get bloods back to normality, get their body back to normality, and generally just get to a healthy body fat position. Again, we've got to be conscious of what does that person feel like when their body fat's increasing? Have we prepared for that? Do they have the skills to handle that? What are we doing to control those problems when they come up, if they come up, and how do we navigate those if they are present? So they're all additional questions that need to be considered when reversing a client. Why do refeeds work? All right, so firstly, what is a refeed? So a refeed is a controlled periodic increase in predominantly carbohydrates. For most people, it usually be carbohydrates. It's synonymously interchanged with like cheat meal or diet break, but they're very different concepts. Refeed, you are structuring to, after a period of time, replenish glycogen, refill fuel stores, alleviate some psychological exhaustion and fatigue from dieting for extended periods of time. Also just replenish the fuel system to be able to train harder for a little bit more, try and fill up the muscle stores a little bit. When it comes to preps, when you start using refeeds in the back end, we're also trying to look at how the body responds and fills up, meaning like how does the muscle cell itself fill out to increase intracellular glycogen? What does that look like? And so that's kind of why we use what a refeed is, and then why it works is literally that. For extended periods of dieting, we're usually decreasing carbohydrate intake first, depriving the body of its primary fuel sources. Therefore, and because of that, we see an increase in fatigue, we see an increase in exhaustion. We generally build up almost like a diet resilience. The body becomes kind of stagnant, gets a little bit more of an adjustment, if you will, and the body kind of, you might refer to metabolic adaptation, tends to kind of stagnate for a period of time. We use things like a refeed to try and re-stoke that fire, re-stimulate the process, and just kind of rejuvenate the client and see how their body responds. Now, structurally, it will generally consist of about 150 to 200% increase in carbohydrates, depending on the client. You know, some people are massive and way bigger and need more than that, but generally it's, you know, over 2 to 3 days, so 48 to 72 hours, you'll increase by anywhere from 150 to 200% carbohydrates each day, and sort of see how the body responds. Look for data. Generally what happens is, I'll find for people that are deep in a prep or deep in a diet phase, we'll actually see a reduction by day plus 1, 2 after the refeed, a reduction in weight, even though they've increased glycogen, they've increased intracellular hydration, because of the stress reduction that comes from the refeeds put in place. So there's a multitude of reasons why it works. Mechanistically, that's kind of the idea, and structurally and systematically, that's how you kind of implement it. Alcohol, sugars, and prep. Leave it in or take it out. Now, in this regard, it is very client subjective. I have seen bros, I have seen numpties try and talk about how hard they are and making their prep more extreme because they're not going to do any diet sodas or diet cordials or sugar alcohols like from, you know, sugar-free maple syrup and things like that. Talk about how tough it's going to make them and how hard it is, and they're going to be more true bodybuilders. The thing is, there is next to no brownie points that come from trying to make it any harder on yourself. If the difference between someone getting an extra 3 to 4% body fat off is an inclusion of Pepsi Max, an inclusion of some sugar-free maple syrup, and protein powder, then I don't really care. Now, if they're going all out and sinking, you know, 3 or 4 protein bars a day, you know, liters upon liters of sugar-free sweetener, sugar-free, you know, sauces and syrups, then yes, by all means. But that is becoming more of a digestive impactual response, and it's messing with the gut system. Now, I'm not going to go on a tangent about gut microbiome and how it works. I don't know enough. We don't know enough. We do know that sugar alcohols can disrupt the digestive tract, the intestines, and basically impact flooding the stomach, leading to things like bloating, gas issues, even things like diarrhea, like a gassiness and flatulence. So in sense of the comfortability and digestion, I don't like to overuse them. Now, like everything, there is an appropriate balance you need to find out with our client. If you are seeing weight is stagnating, if you are seeing bloating digestive issues, if you are seeing water retention and fluid, then you could probably start to look at why is that happening. If everything else is under control, look at their nutrition, have them send screenshots. You know, having 100 mils a day of XYZ sugar alcohol is going to impact the stomach, unless, you know, you've got an iron gut, as they call it, and you can handle that thing. So for me, I'm not against it in prep. What I do though is start to alleviate and remove some of those products as prep goes on, and we start to standardize digestion to make sure that everything is flowing smoothly so we can maximize peak. If we're adding these things into a peak week and then also trying to load carbohydrates to figure out the best look, it'll start to impact digestion, absorption, bathroom behaviors, you know, how quickly you go to the bathroom, how often you go to the bathroom, what it does to your gut. And then obviously if you do start to take them out and then you reintroduce it at the back end, your body is so sensitive to new stimulus, your stomach is so sensitive to new inclusions, to new additions, that sensitivity is going to impact the look and how you respond. So towards the back end, I start to phase them out to as very little as possible. And then we just look at, you know, how those are impacting. If it's making a difference, if it's making a change, we pull it out entirely. If you can handle it, it stays in, it's not a big deal. But yeah, that's where, you know, it really starts to add up. Do I remove them from everyone for every prep? No. I think that's extreme, and you're just trying to sound like a hard ass for no reason, and no one really cares. Your diet, your lifestyle choices, how you approach your prep, do whatever you want. Just know that you need to equate for it, track for it, consider it, and understand that it may have impacts on your look. That's it. Alrighty guys, that is 2024 training blogs wrapped up. So if you have any comments, questions, things you want us to talk about, things you want us to record, things you want us to do in 2025, please let us know. At the moment we're kind of going with what seems to be working and what people are looking at, enjoying, liking, etc. So if there is anything more that you want to see, hear about, talk about, behind the scenes of, tell us, let us know, drop a comment, leave feedback, and we will make sure that we get it in. 2025, we are definitely looking at not overhauling, but reviewing how things are done, what we're doing, what our strategies are, to make sure that we're giving more to try and give for the sake of value. There is no ulterior motives for us. Yes, we run a coaching business, but I also give for the sake of giving and providing information. So make sure that you leave any feedback or questions. That is it. Keep an eye out for coaching spots that will be opening up at the start of 2025. We'll release that when it happens. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of 2024 training vlogs. We'll still have another few weeks of our prep vlogs coming out, and we'll be recording those across the weeks, but by the time this one comes out, that'll pretty much be the end of our 2024 year anyway. So how good. Appreciate, thanks for stopping by.